In Nigeria, like this one coming straight out of Ogun State, where government commences construction of Gateway Inland Dry Port. And then from Lagos State, LCCI recommends 1,000 naira per dollar exchange rates. They have said that this will help strengthen the economy. All right, and then from Ondo State, MDCN calls for action over shortage of doctors. From Zamfara State, government to collaborate with federal government on mining development. On aviation field, federal government gives locations for new depot. And on PMS, one of the most trending topics in Nigeria today, marketers can now buy products from Dangote. On minimum wage, why we accepted 70,000 naira NLC statement. And then on hardship, stop inciting Nigerians against the government. APC cautions Amechi. Let's take some time off, and after that we'll begin the show proper. I'll introduce my guests. I will delve straight to the details. My name is Enidoye Jackson. Please stay with us.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on Atn.
We appreciate you for staying with us. Let's move to Ogun State. After I tell you my guests in the studio, I have with me on my left, Okechukwu Edenkwo. He is a public affairs analyst. He's also an economist and one of our regulars on Atn Sunday. Good morning to you and welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Eddie, and good morning to all our esteemed viewers at home, and happy Sunday to you.
Yes, happy Sunday. Thank you so much for coming. I also have with me also one of our regulars at Atlantic Television Network. I'm talking about no other than Ekie C. Ekie. He is also a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Ekie.
My pleasure.
Welcome.
Being here. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Ogun State. Government commences construction of Gateway Inland Dry Port. Now, according to reports, the Ogun State government has launched the construction of the Gateway Inland Dry Port in Itori, Ewekoro. The groundbreaking ceremony, led by Minister of Marine and Blue Economy Adeboyega Oyetola and the Governor Dapo Abiodun, marks the start of a project aimed at easing logistics and reducing congestion at a major port in Apata. The dry port is going to create 20,000 jobs, according to reports, and Governor Abiodun has highlighted the port's potential to enhance the state's economic profile and attract investment. We're going to start with stories like this before we move on to the stories that are giving some people heartaches currently and making some people do the things that they have thought that they would never do. Starting with this, let's start with the stories on a lighter note now. This particular action and move have been said to, that it will bring economic growth to that particular state. I would like to bring the economists in our midst on this story first off.
For me, I think it's a right step in the right direction, but where I still have some few questions to ask them is, are they doing it with all manner of sincerity? I hope it's not one of those humongous and bogus government projects that may not see the daylight of fulfillment, but if it's something that they follow to a logical and conclusive and run it properly, it's a money spinner for Ogun State. It will also drive employment, something that will provide over 20,000 employment for the jobs for the people. It's a good one. Then the immediate environment will also benefit because it will definitely impact on their economy positively. So many small-scale business in and around those areas will spring up during and after construction. So it's a good thing that they are trying to set up a dry port. And if you look at it, the Apapa port is congested. So some of these things, if they clear and they bring to Ogun State where people can come there and also lift to various destinations, it's going to be a very good one. And it will also increase ease of business in and around that area. So for me, let them see how they can drive it to a logical and conclusive. And once that is done, the next thing, these are catalysts and springboards for rapid economic development.
All right, so you said once that is done, the next thing, and that's actually what I would like us to look at. While it's beautiful to set up things like this, another thing we need to look at is maintenance and viability of the projects that has been intended by the government. Eki, I'd like to bring you in on that.
Actually, that's a major factor. But I believe that in a business where sincerity is applicable, you shall have known the viability of that project in terms of the cost of manufacturing, the cost of construction, rather, and the cost of maintenance as the period that the port is going to exist. Because maintenance has been one of the challenges that have destroyed most of our investment as a country. And why is there poor maintenance culture? One, greed, corruption. Because most times there are plans, there are resources that are supposed to be used for such maintenance, but they seemingly are diverted to personal purposes and for whatsoever reason that is inimical to such, lucrative projects. So I want to believe that there is no harm in trial. You do not preempt what has not happened, but we are only speaking because of some kind of negative experiences we have as a country. So, but we believe that the initiative is good, and Ogun State is also into agriculture. Ogun State is also a home for some kind of investors. Sometimes when we talk about Lagos, sometimes to differentiate Ogun State and Lagos, it becomes different, difficult rather, but they're almost like one entity. So I think the Lagos port, like my brother said, is already congested. There's nothing wrong for every state that can afford a port to have a port. Because if you are into production, if you are into business, of course, if the quantity of your business grows to the level of exportation, you need the blue sea. So you must go through the waters. And importation too must also come through the water. So as a country, we also generate more revenues. The more importation and exportations that we have, revenues from the blue sea will also increase. Yes, but I would just want to pray that it should be an elephant project that is completely executed. It's a good one, it's a wise decision, thinking out of the box, but let it be completed. Let it not just be an abandoned project. By the time it's commissioned, at least the money that was voted, at least Nigerians can see where the money went, because the intent is the profit they desire to make out of that project, not to see that those projects are alive, because we have seen so many projects commissioned and abandoned. So you now wonder, what was the motive behind this project?
People have talked about times when we have a change in government. So the next person comes in and that's probably not his focus.
You know, the issue here most of the time is the kind of electorates that we have.
How do you mean?
The kind of electorates that we have wants to see what you have done. If a project was started by your successor, your predecessor rather, they sometimes attribute it to the person's project and achievement. And it can become a bad score mark for the person.
That's when it's not completed or when it's completed?
Even when he completes it.
Okay.
That project, most time, they tag it as also person's project.
But he completed it.
No, you see, that's what I'm saying.
Who do you tag it on?
That we talk about government being a continuous process.
Yes.
But our electorates, our attitude to leaders when it has to do with scoring their performances. So most leaders comes on board and said, this is this person's project. Let me start my own. But it takes a mature leader, a leader with capacity, completes the project that he met, and then still come up with new projects.
This has been a very big problem. A lot of people keep mentioning it when we talk about abandoned projects, and we have too many abandoned projects. Knowing how much have been invested in some of those projects, what do you think can be done concerning this?
There should be enabling laws.
Okay.
Because whatever you do that is not backed by law, it becomes an issue. And once it's backed up by law, they should also have the political will to make sure that they execute it. You know, Lagos State being the center of excellence, for me, it's not just a nickname. It's not a guy name. Lagos, they have a template where things are running. Look at the BRT. Fashola started the BRT, completed it, and it's still running today. The blue line is running. So Lagos State, they already have a template where things are done in continuity. And once there's that continuity, you discover that there won't be abandoned projects. Whatever happens, follow it to a logical and conclusive end so that it becomes a state project and not a personal project.
Well, come to think of it, before a project is started, there's an amount budgeted for that project, right? There's an amount budgeted for that project.
Yes.
And that amount is supposed to complete that project. So whether the individual leaves office or not, the amount that was budgeted for that project was till completion. So what happened to the amount
or
the money?
In Nigeria, you know, we have a kind of inflation that is unprecedented. I don't know if it's a hyper or galloping inflation that we have in Nigeria. So once you have these projects like this, you have a timeline. Before you know, exchange rate, and our economy is import driven. Virtually everything they use is imported. So by the time the exchange rate keep increasing, the prices of goods and services inflate, it goes up, and it's affecting the project. Before you know, there's a gap.
That's a project that has been given to a company. It's a contract.
That's what I'm saying.
So if a contract is given to a company, do we come back to review the contract?
That's why at every point they keep asking for variation, because so many, over time, a lot of water has gone under the bridges. things must have happened here and there. You know, it has affected the contract value. For me, I still believe that there should be a model where contracts should be executed. When I say contracts should be executed, it's just like the Nigerian factor. If you pay somebody 70, 80%, they abscond with your money. If not, most of the things that is hampering contract development in this country is the mode of payment, where they split it. And the banks, they are not even willing to give out funds to businessmen, because over time they've had their own fair share of experience. Rather, what banks they prefer to do is more buying and selling. They see the physical goods, they know that it's in your shop. Once you're done, you sell and you remit money to them. Banks, they hardly fund capital projects.
No.
Another thing again, they should also go to the capital markets where they get bonds and stocks. But the factor in Nigeria have so many factors militating against business because of the unstable political and economic climate, and it has affected business very well. Our major problem, like I said, is inflation. So once you have that timeline for a project, you might budget XYZ amount, and before you know, exchange rate must have gone up, and it has affected your business. Before you know, there's that snag, that slow nature of the business, and you come back, you ask for variation. So it's really hindering business.
Okay, all right. Master, you're going to come in there.
Yeah, I think, like I said, when a leader is weak, that's when you abandon some, good projects. Of course, most leaders come in and look at the economic benefits or the social benefit of such projects before they want to continue or not. But again, for instance, in Rivers State, the ring road, that is going on right now, was started by the former governor, Chief Nyesom Wike. And then this current governor, they are continuing with the project. We have a project that the former governor, Nyesom Wike, completed that was started during Amechi's time. He did not say that this is Amechi's project in road constructions and thereabout. So that's why I said it depends on the maturity and the strength of the leader, knowing that me finishing this project do not in any way reduces my political score. The project is for the people and it should be executed for the people. But part of the reasons for project abandonment, he has talked about inflation. Of course, when a project is seen to be viable, there's need for contract review because of a change of prices or thereabout. Again, another reason could be as a result of insecurity. Another reason is also having a project that is not needed at a particular location. For instance, most of if I should talk about, sometimes they go and build up a very gigantic school building in a community where they have about less than 500 or 1,000 persons in those communities. And after the project is completed, it's discovered that grass takes over, and then the facilities in that place are being vandalized and stolen. So government should be intentional in giving out projects not based on political consideration, because this is the only way we can give you a big project for you to make profit. No. We must think loud.
It's funny how all of these challenges just come up when it's a government project. And when it's a personal and private project, we don't hear all of these plenty challenges.
No, there are still personal projects that are abandoned. You have seen some companies with the caterpillar inside, whatsoever, that grass has taken over. So insecurity is one. Sometimes citing a business in a wrong location can be of great negative effect. Now, but if you want to utilize it too as a government, if you have a big facility that is cited for a particular project, like there's one of the secondary schools around the Tai.
In Sakpenwa.
Sakpenwa, right? And then the one at Kalabari Road. They were secondary schools that was built by one of the former governor, Rotimi Amechi. But when Nyesom Wike came as governor, they had to push some of the department, right, of UST to those locations. You go to most of the local government, you see big secondary school buildings that are abandoned. Why? Because the intention was good, probably, but it has political undertone. So sometimes, His Excellency, my local government also need to have this project. Where will it be sited? You, instead of taking it to where you have more population, because let it be that you brought a project to your village.
Yes, that's like. Don't you think that's like bringing development to that village?
No. It's bringing.
Okay, Chuku, what do you think?
For me, I think one of the greatest challenge we have in Nigeria is that we fail to carry out needs assessment. If you carry out proper needs assessment, you will know that certain projects are not even fit for certain areas. You must take into cognizance the needs of the people and the immediate environment before citing, and not for political glory or self-aggrandizement.
The examples he gave, those are schools.
Granted,
and
schools,
when you talk about
you don't
needs,
put a school in the middle of nowhere. It might be because of choice of land. You may not get the right land or the right parcel of land.
And then also want to attract that, wanting to attract
but
development.
There are
to the
certain
area.
things that you must bring, which are catalyst and springboard for development. You don't set a school in the middle of nowhere and you expect people to bring their children to those areas where the safety of their children are not guaranteed. No parent want to take his or her child to school, then sleep with two eyes open. You must take your child to where you know that once you're sleeping, you're very comfortable, that the next day you wake up to get the call from your child, but not the other way around. There are certain things you put in the middle of nowhere. See Lagos, Ojo, Alaba. What made that place popular was that market. And before you know, traders will go in there, acquire land, start building. By the time they build, they move in there, start living. Other projects will come in. There are things you do to attract development. It's not school. You don't put school in the middle of nowhere and you say it's a developmental project. You must put it in the middle of the town where you are sure that you have students that will attend. Because the beauty of every school, I'm narrowing it down to a school. The beauty of a school is for people to attend. The beauty of a hospital is for you to have patients. You don't cite a hospital in the middle of nowhere.
But that's in a community.
No,
and there are people in the community.
No. You see, you can. That is why I talk about. You need health facility.
Yes.
There is a standard of health facility that can be provided for you. For instance, the government built a new secondary school in Ozoba here. The population, the intake alert is very high because there are people who will be available to go there. You go to Rumokuta, right? The secondary school that is there too is highly, is gigantic. But yet the number of students is not even, in fact, they need more infrastructure. But when you go to a certain village, or Yorokoto, maybe in Andoni,
Only you can
and then you now go and build one kind of gigantic building because you felt that let your people notice that you have attracted project to your community. Are you okay? So I think that...
Why did you mention them? Do they have a small population?
No,
of course.
Yorokoto is a fishing settlement.
So the point I'm trying to say is that if you know that your community needs school, if they need 6 or 7 or 8 room standard classroom based on the survey of the population of the school at the moment, that should be given to this community, well equipped and good for studies of the student. As the population increases, there will be need for expansion. So not when you begin to build a school for 30 years population, and then the building will begin to dilapidate. It turns out to become a hideout for criminals. Then you discover that the intent was defeated. So I like to encourage that projects should be cited so that we don't have much of abandoned project. And where we have abandoned projects, you can turn them to seminaries You can lease them to businessmen. Don't say it's a government facility. You can give them so that that place can be busy. You know, they can at least something, if they start doing business in that environment, even if you convert it to a factory, it's still something useful. At least development will begin to come around that area than to leave it in the name of its government. And the intention is school. So if it is not school, it will not work. No. So I'm calling on government, wherever you have abandoned project, you can ask for businessmen who can convert it to something else, and then ask churches if they can use it for seminary. Since it's lonely.
Is it? But is that really? Does it really show right relationship between the tiers of government and the relationship between these leaders down to where the people are? Because how do you not know exactly what the people need? Because I'm looking at that money. I'm looking at that amount that was used to erect that project that you have said has been there for a long time, and then people are not there. If that was invested in what the people actually need at that time, the development would have even been done even more.
Of course. So first and foremost, when you want to cite any developmental project, you need to get to the place before even an approval is given. You don't just sit in the executive council chamber that we're approving XYZ contract for social community without even going there to have a proper look at the place. Like the case of that Sakpewa Secondary School. If you've been there before, it's in the middle of nowhere. Thank God it was converted to a campus of the River State Polytechnic. And even the Polytechnic, they've not even maximized the place fully. They've not maximized the facility. Right. And there's also some form of politics where I still believe that they don't want to move. If you go to the old site of the River State Polytechnic, it's small considering to that place. So they should have even moved more of the faculties to that new site, so that at the end,
it's even bigger than the other.
Yes, it's bigger.
All right, let's move to Lagos State. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, LCCI, has called on the federal government to peg the exchange rate of crude oils supplied to local refineries at 1,000 naira per dollar. According to the LCCI President, Gabriel Dausa, this move would help lower fuel production costs, reducing petrol prices and alleviating the financial burden on businesses and consumers. It also highlighted that pegging the exchange rate would reduce transportation expenses, stimulate economic activity, and combat food inflation, which has been worsened by rising logistics costs. He noted that petrol prices have surged by 430% since President Bola Tinubu's administration began crippling many businesses. The LCCI also urged clarity on the government's stance regarding fuel subsidies and called for the full implementation of the PIA, as well as a focus on reducing oil theft and transitioning to compressed natural gas mobility. A lot has been mentioned here, but there's one that caught my attention: the implementation of the PIA. What do you think the constraint is? Okay, Chukwu.
The implementation of the PIA, for me, is bedeviled by so many factors. One, I think lack of sincerity in terms of implementing it. Secondly, lack of political will. This PIA is a good thing for the people, for the development.
The people waited for decades.
And now for you to implement it, you know, the political will or lack of political will has always been a bane for business and governance in this country. We have so many wonderful ideas, policy formulated, but implementation process is always...
This PIA is looking peculiar. Because before it even became the PIA from PIB, it took decades.
Yes, and you know, this PIA is something that puts power in the hands of the host community and the people. So they are being economical with the truth, even at the implementation stage, knowing very well that if they implement it fully, it takes certain powers off them. So they are still holding on to it.
So you feel there's some deliberate action?
Of course, there's a deliberate act. Very serious one. And as I said, they are not being sincere.
And the people who are supposed to benefit from this, now how much have they really clamored for the implementation of the PIA?
You know, most of these multinationals, another thing they do, they use divide and rule. When I say divide and rule, even at the community level, they empower certain people to suppress the generality of the people. so that at the end of the day, they'll still be doing their normal things which they are used to doing. If the people are united, you discover that some of these things will be in the past. The oil companies, I say it unequivocally, without fear or favor, and I can tell you for free that what they are doing is purely divide and rule. They just get some very powerful people within the communities, give them some running contracts, and they become lords. If any person wants to say anything, they suppress you.
But implementation of the PIA is beyond just the oil companies.
Yeah, I think at this point, bulk of the issues will lie with the federal government, because they are the ones that directly get this funding from the multinationals. And the big question is the multinationals not remitting this money, either 3% or thereabout? Are they not remitting this money? Is the federal government not also doing their contributions? You know, so the big challenge is the kind of country and the society we find ourselves. You will be struggling with implementation. And then in the next 3-4 years, they said the PIA fund has been defrauded. That somebody has looted
the PIA that have been accumulated.
Yes, that somebody has looted that money. And then what next you do? EFCC. Courts. But the money is gone. The money is gone.
Like what you said, you know, this whole thing has to do with counterpart funding.
Yes.
The multinational, they also contribute, but the government, through the NNPC, they find it very difficult to remit theirs to the fund. So once it's like that, assuming 3 of us here now, you are the major stakeholder, you have 45% or 49% equity share, while the 2 of us were left with 51. You bring 40, you're supposed to bring 49 or maybe 60%. I bring 20, he brings 20. By the time I remit my 20, he remits his 20. And you, who is the government, you are yet to bring yours. That's where we keep having issues. That's one of the challenges where the PIA or the petroleum industry bill is not really working.
Now to add again, you know, if the federal government are saying there are challenges, I think there are no more challenges anymore, because I understand that the host communities have an association now where there are projects to be implemented. The carriers of each community will suggest what kind of project should be accommodated in the budgets for implementation. Now, so there is an umbrella body that is covering the interests of...
They call it the Cluster Development Board. Initially, they used to have this GMOU, where they sign Global Memorandum of Understanding, where the companies and the communities, they sit down, they design and take that within so period, either 3-4 years. These are the number of projects that they will carry out within the host community. But some of those projects are not even be carried out. They pay them money, and before you know, there are white elephant projects that doesn't even see the daylight of fulfillment.
Yes. The challenge too again to add is, most times when these projects are to be implemented, of course the contractors are indigenous, and they consider this project as benefits that accrues them. They give you a contract of, you know, constructing the road in your place. What is in the specification is a different thing. The implementation is different. So I have always seen why we blame the oil company. Even the project that oil companies have said, okay, let us implement. But the focus here is the PIA, which has nothing to do directly with the company and the community, because it's an appropriation. It's a resources that the federal government takes and then try to see how they give it back to the host communities. So I want to encourage that our leaders who are at the National Assembly, Senate, our ministers, those who represent us at the federal government. I want to encourage that there should be an intentional reaction to ensure that these resources actually get to the people. But my worriedness is the way our country is. Like I said, we will be struggling for implementation. What is happening? Where's the money? What is happening? And 2-3 years you hear that somebody has a so it means there could be money. Now you don't wait for.
We didn't hear any case of the oil company not remitting that fund to the federal government.
No. The point is
the major challenge there is that the NNPC, who is more like the major partner in that venture, because they call it the JV ventures, the JV operation, the joint venture operation, NNPC failed to remit theirs. The multinationals, in their own little way, they are trying their best to remit, but the problem is from the government.
No, if the oil companies have even remitted, for instance, if there are SYZ projects, the one that the oil company have remitted, is it not the right to start something first while you wait for the one of NNPC? So I want to feel that there is something wrong somewhere, because even in a budget of a nation, you don't have all the money to fund the budget before implementation. It's as you begin to create revenues or derive revenues, that's when you begin to implement them one after the other.
Like my own area where I come from, there's this multinational that does operation within that area. We have an MOU with them, which I happen to be also a contractor in the multinational. Some of the projects that they even give you that they award to you at the community development department of that, the projects, people just collect money, they don't execute it.
Yes.
Like markets, drainage.
And there's no monitoring or what?
They don't money, they just come, you put in your invoice, they pay you, and you go. Most of those projects are not even executed.
And because you see why
I'm saying this on camera.
Are you a beneficiary of such?
I don't know, but I just told you this is what is happening.
No, I love your sincerity. You know, most times these things are like political business, where the companies just want to please the host community, agitators. If you don't do this for us, we'll shut you down.
Talking about the host community agitators, how much have you really heard from those host communities agitating for this implementation?
Who are you going to hear from? When the spokes...
you already talked about the host community having, they are more like an organized body right now.
No, they have leaders. You want to say something?
Yes.
Okay.
One of the things also affecting the host community is, for me, I term it as rugged individualism. First, me, myself, and I, and not for the benefit of the community. Whoever goes in there, either as a CDC chairman or a contact person for the family, like a middleman between the family and the company, the first thing he goes there to do is to enrich himself. So, until he enriches himself, whatever any person is saying doesn't concern him. If you try to ask too many questions, they suppress you.
Yes, Ambassador, why do you think we haven't heard so much from those communities asking for implementation of BIA?
The voice of those communities have been compromised. Like you tried to cite. Who are the voice of this community? The CDC, the contact persons, the liaison officers, the community head, the youth leaders, the women leaders.
Everybody cannot be compromised, like you mentioned.
No. You see, the point is there is a way these community leaders conspire together. Take your own, right? Take your own. Everybody gets.
They are even saying that they have not received.
Who is saying so?
I had one of our community leaders in River State here who told me that he doesn't even know, he knows little or nothing about it. That the process is one that is not even open for them to really know what is going on. Not to talk of receiving it.
PIA, the
Yes.
implementation, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about MOUs between companies and hosts. Apart
No,
from the
I'm
PIA,
talking about the PIA now. We know how much, I don't want to call it noise, that we heard before the implementation, right?
before the approval.
Calling for, before it became an act, right?
Yes.
Calling for it to become an act, calling for it to be taken out of the bill, to pass all the readings and all of that. Do you understand? But now that has happened.
The major problem of that PIA is funding.
Funding on what? On whose side now?
I've told you, on it it's a joint venture operation. The multinationals and the government. The government, they have not been sincere in remitting their own quota of the funds.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next story. The Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, MDCN, has raised concerns about the shortage of medical doctors in the country, driven by population growth and the ongoing brain drain. Speaking at the third induction ceremony for medical graduates of the University of Medical Sciences, Ondo State, the MDCN's registrar, represented by Tijani, highlighted the urgent action that the WHO, according to WHO standards, newly inducted doctors were urged to maintain medical ethics and contribute positively to society, with a reminder that their licenses could be withdrawn for unethical practices. Okay, talking about unethical practices now. I know if we mention this, anyone would want to say, oh, it's in every single field. You find it here, you find it there. Because just yesterday we heard about a story where a doctor was selling children and all of that. That's one out of the many that we get to hear about in our society. So even while swearing the oath of allegiance and all of that, where did we then get it wrong? Where these people then deviate, or some of the people who have deviate from that oath, from the practice of that particular should I call it a course now, profession? Okay, Chuku.
First, the economic situation in the country is really biting hard. If a doctor or a medical personnel is well paid, I don't think there will be need for him or her to engage in some form of unethical practice. Secondly, who are the persons that are inducted? How, you don't churn out half-baked graduates. Were they properly drilled before becoming medical doctor? What's the process? That's another question. Then the characters of the persons. So this is something that has eaten deep into the fabric of the nation, and like you said, you find it in virtually every profession because of this get-rich-quick syndrome. And once that get-rich-quick syndrome comes, there are bound to be some form of unethical practices that they carry out, and if they are not careful, they get caught.
But we also talk about some people in political positions, and these people are paid well, but we still hear fraud going on. We still hear corruption going on. So are we still going to say because they are not well paid? Let me bring a key to this conversation.
I think a greedy person is a greedy person. An evil man or woman remains an evil man. You see, you talked about the
rich quick syndrome.
Unhealthy competition in the industry, unhealthy competition in the family, unhealthy competition in the community. This person have achieved this, I need to achieve this. Now, when people talk about much payment, I beg to understand, with the records and histories that we read, teachers were not very rich people in those days. doctors were not very rich people. Neither the pastors. They were not very rich people. But they were able to still carry out their responsibilities in an orderly, impactful manner that the society sees them as role models. So I want to encourage that, yes, we know that the economy is one, but a thief is a thief. If you even want to look at the salaries and the salary or the payment of government workers, you also want to agree with me that medical doctors, most of them, their payments are still more better than some other professions that works for government. But some will say medical doctors are supposed to, their own supposed to be bigger.
But okay, do you agree with that statement?
Like you said, he said a thief remains a thief. Then another thing I also deduced from his statement, societal pressure on healthy competition, where parents, even in the immediate family, they start citing example and look at so person, just how many years the person has practiced, the person has been able to achieve this. And it puts pressure on the individual to engage in some unwholesome practices which are unethical just because they want to get rich. Another thing too also is societal pressure. A patient can also come to you because of desperation. They offer you some amount of money which you cannot resist. So it's a two-way thing. Apart from the societal pressure, there's also desperation. Just like some cases where some parents, they come, they want their children, you know that this child is not even qualified, is not fit for this position. They are ready to pay any amount.
And now, Kia, concerning what you were saying last, the reason a lot of people call for that is because of the risk that's associated with that practice.
What is the risk?
What is the risk?
Is there no profession that has risk in it? You see, when we talk about professionalism, is a moral venture. If you are talking about risk, the carpenter who climbs to roof your house, is that not risk? There is no easy way of making money. I beg to...
They're not asking for an easy way of making money.
The point I'm trying to establish is that the risk factors, a doctor, because he does a surgery, or because he has to, dentist who pulls up the teeth.
Do you think that's all they do?
No, I'm only just giving an instance.
Okay.
The eye doctor, the ear doctor,
these are frontline workers.
I'm only, see, let's call it.
Their lives are at risk a lot of times.
Are they more, what about the journalists? That comes in a time in your profession that you will be at, you will engage risky ventures.
In life?
Yes, not all the time.
Life generally is a risk.
Yes, so
and those who are not willing to take risk do not even get to the
So you feel that the doctors are at least to an extent paid well?
No, you see, we are not saying that their salaries should not be improved. But what happens where you see this pressure on the society? We talk about societal pressure. We talk about Akpan has gone to UK. Just 6 months. He's already building house. Me, I've been working here for 2 years and all that because of the variations in our economy. So because of this unhealthy competition, that's why my submission will be, because if really we want to get things right, yes, government have a responsibility in improving the welfare of the doctors. Of course, government has never employed or engaged all the doctors. We still have private doctors who are also perpetrating evil in the industry. So it's not about government is not paying them well. There are some who are working for private sector, and yet they are still committing these criminal activities. So that's why, because of the issue of talking about jackbarring, brain drain, what do you call it? Brain drain, and all of that. Now, my worriedness most of the time is this issue of a strike too, where government universities will go on strike, and then as soon as they call off strike, they hurriedly crash
the programs, the studies to just meet up the academic calendar, and then you graduate them out to go and turn human beings to become animals, you know, in terms of performing surgery and all of that. So I think that's why most times I get too worried in this ASU strike, you know, because we are talking about students there, because so we can't link it out from ASU. So that's why the big question was talking about, are these one properly trained? Now, if they come out from Nigerian university, if we had enough strike, I think the internship time should increase before they can be properly certified. But if the internship is like when there was no strike, and then you now graduate this one, maybe 1 year internship, right? Or housemanship, and then you say they should begin to practice, they will kill more people. So my own appeal to the Medical Association too, in partnership with the government of Nigeria, is that every medical doctor that is graduated and certified should be able to work for like 10 or 15 years before he or she can have the liberty of going to abroad to practice. Because you must first of all be a blessing to your country. So we cannot be training a medical student, because of course
why are you making it peculiar to just medical students?
That's the focus of discussion.
Yes, so that's the focus. But even while we're talking about this, you still made reference to other professions.
You see, another thing also that has led to unethical and unwholesome practices, quacks are also in the industry. Some of these things are also perpetrated by quacks in the profession. That's why the NMA, the Medical Association, at every point, they have this monitoring team where they visit clinics on regular basis. I know someone can actually graduate as a medical doctor, but is this practicing fee, which they are supposed to pay annually? If over time a doctor has not been able to pay the practice fee, before you know what's happened, you fall out of line. Yeah. And once you're out of line, they can also do and undo.
So let's talk about what we can do. What can be done?
There should be high level of orientation, advocacy, and monitoring. When I mean monitoring in terms of surveillance, by being very proactive. You don't wait for danger to occur before you start providing solution. They have to be proactive, envisage that we're going to have this XYZ kind of problem. How do we nip it in the bud? But for me, there should be high-level advocacy and close monitoring.
Well, Ambassador, back to your recommendation about these people not being allowed to travel out for the first 10 or 15 years.
Yes, if they are not allowed to relocate permanently, intentionally, the government must monitor their activities.
And then I asked you why you were limiting it to just medical.
Why I said 10 years. You know, the medical profession is very much important to us. We invest a lot in ensuring that these, our brothers and sisters, become certified.
What field do we not invest in?
You can't compare to that of medicine.
But you were already making the comparison.
Now, no, I didn't. I said every profession has his or her risk.
Okay.
Because that was the focus, risk. Now, if we say 10 years, you are banned from traveling, unless on health grounds or maybe tourism, you go and come back.
Are you saying the other professions are not as important?
No, I didn't say so. The focus is medicine.
You got my question.
If we say 10 years, because of the Japa syndrome, that's the big challenge. So
we should just say graduates should not travel for the first 10 to 15. So why these guys?
The focus, if we come back to talk about another profession another day, then we
Ambassador, you already deviated earlier.
Yeah, another thing which should be done, apart from increased remuneration, doctors, if you know the number of doctors and health workers that has been kidnapped the last 10 years, you'll be shocked and it will amaze you. They are more of an endangered species. You know, at some point, You hear they have kidnapped so doctor. They have kidnapped. Even the doctors became very afraid to even go to rural areas to work, especially the government doctors. You go to most of those local government headquarters, you can't find any doctor on duty. Why? Most of them are afraid to come to work. They may be kidnapped. And a medical doctor, whether I like it or not, is someone's brother or sister. So there should be proper security for them, and at their place of work, their remuneration has to improve.
Right.
Then another thing again too, you know, medicine itself is one profession that they don't stop even after your MBBS. After the MBBS degree, they still go for other further studies, where you become, apart you move from a resident doctor residency, you now move to being a consultant, and so on. So there should be room for rapid training and retraining for them. That will also curb some of these unethical practices. If, how will I put it, their remuneration is increased, the syndrome also of traveling abroad will not be there.
All right.
Yeah, I think again to add to that, most times, most of these crimes are committed in private hospitals. Sometimes the owner of those hospitals are already millionaires, but you still see crime going on in such hospitals. Now, I want to agree on the issue of insecurity, ensuring that doctors are protected, because sometimes they leave their houses 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock because of patients and all that. They are actually trying. And again, bureaucracies, especially in the government hospitals. There was a day I went to see a doctor friend of mine who also consults for a private hospital. Now, I went to the private hospital that he works with, and then he said it's at the government hospital, which I wouldn't mention them. So, driving to see him at that hospital, because he said there's a patient they needed to conduct surgery on. I said, Doc, what's up? He said the family have not been able to provide what it takes. And secondly, that for him to get these things, there must be an approval, administrative bottleneck, bureaucracies. So I just say, see why people die because of bureaucracies within the government hospitals. So a lot of things are very discouraging in our medical sector, which I think the medical association and the government, that especially those who work for the government, because most of these things are not found in private hospitals. So I want to encourage that the government hospital that the public access, there should be little of bureaucracies. The bureaucracies can kill people before the disease even kill them. You know, so security of the doctors are good, but there are still greedy ones. Despite the Jackpot syndrome, we still have doctors who have said they will stay and ensure that Nigeria gets better. They attend to our health system.
Right.
But while I'm talking about the hard way for the greedy ones who wants to leave because of those money, if you are trained and then because the country is not able to take care of you the way you should be taken care of, if your father could not train you properly, does it mean that you should not train your father? You should not help your father? The answer is a big no. I know we all need money. We need these dollars. Every one of us love these dollars. But I think if we want to help the situation, the crisis we are, the manpower in the medical industry right now, if we say 10 years, by that 10 years, you shall have groomed other younger graduates, right? So you can exit.
Right.
I don't know whether you get the point. So that's why I said there could be a restriction of 10 years.
Right.
Or maybe if they negotiate with government, we can bring it down to either 6 years or 7 years or 5. So that anytime you want to exit, we still have young ones that will still work with these people before, if it is a transition process.
If you get to 6 years or 7 years, you can go to Japan. If you get to 7 years, by that time, we are already having other experienced doctors. But I want to encourage.
Shock you to know that some of them still don't get jobs after school.
Good. So that's why I'm encouraged. But if they are not getting job, but why are we still saying no employment? When people are leaving,
a lot of them are unemployed.
Good. So bureaucracy. So I want to encourage that government should open up employment, because some of our doctors have actually exited and engaged the ones that are yet to be employed. And again, government should ensure that the medical practitioners are taken care of. Right. And then them too should have the hearts of humanity, the hearts to love the people, because most of them are very greedy. When I mean greedy, I don't know the best word. I don't know whether they say
that's some of them.
That's why I said some of them. I didn't say all. I said we have good ones, but there are some who are too greedy. They are ready to use their own mother to make money.
You've had personal experience.
Yes, they are ready to even use their father to make money.
That's owners of private clinics. You're talking about the owners of private.
Generally, we have bad doctors. We have good ones too. I want the bad ones to repent and join the good ones, so that this industry is about life.
You know, by right, as a doctor or a medical person, you're supposed to be compassionate,
honestly,
and empathic. But some of these, if you go to these government hospitals, if you see the way nurses, they talk to some of the patients. If you see the way they talk to patients,
I think that's something that has been there for a long time.
Yes. As a matter of fact, they are supposed to be compassionate. Because once you show compassion to a sick person, I think 30% of his problem has been solved. But these people are not compassionate. The owners of private clinics, most of them, I don't know if some are even worse than Judas. They love money.
That's why they have their businesses. That's a business.
No, it's not a business. No. Like he said, there are professions that the first hallmark is compassion. Compassion has nothing to do with money. I have had to understand that I helped a family, took them for child delivery, because the government hospital is a health center. They don't have that capacity. So they recommended a private doctor, a consultant, who came at the late nights to that health facility and then carried the patient. I had to carry the husband of the woman, and then he had to carry the woman to be talking to her while they get to his hospital. I drove behind them. Did you know that I slept inside my car that night? Do you know that this doctor did not ask for 1 naira? He performed the surgery, luckily twins. It was after the delivery and everything he now gave his bill. I said, doctor, I clap hand for you. There are still exceptional doctors, but there are some that if you do not deposit that amount that it takes, if you will die, you can die. So we are saying that it's a noble profession that has to do with compassion. So it's not a profession that money should be first. No.
All right. At this point, we'll take some time off, and then when we return, the conversation will definitely continue. Please stay with us.
From the lands across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN. from the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains. Through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Big thanks for staying right here with us on Atn Sunday. Let's move to our next story. The federal government, through the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, has pledged to collaborate with Zamfara State to harness its abundant mineral resources for economic growth. During a meeting with Governor Dauda Lawal, Minister Dr. Dele Alake emphasized the strategic importance of Zamfara in Nigeria's mining sector and the need to remove barriers hindering its development. Governor Lawal highlighted the discussions around the security and infrastructure improvements aimed at attracting investors and optimizing mineral resources for the benefit of both the state and the nation. Recent federal measures include security operations to enhance the investment climate in the region. All right, this particular story is talking about collaboration between Zamfara and the government when it has to do with mineral. But let's look at our solid minerals and how much attention we are actually placing on solid minerals as a nation. Yes, Ambassador.
Come again, let me get to it.
Yes, how much attention you think we are placing on solid minerals? We hear about crude oil a lot. And I know that it's not because of what part of the country we are in. We already know that when we talk about the life of the economy, you are looking at crude oil, amongst other things, but crude oil first. But then when it has to do with our solid minerals, how much attention would you say we are placing on it?
The attention is very minimal now. It's not enough. That does not mean that people are not making money from the solid minerals. But it looks as if the catchment of government is on crude. And then that's why in most part of this country, the solid minerals that the tends to explore, it seems as if it's not accruing much benefit to the federal government. And I can say it's politically motivated because...
what is politically motivated now?
When I said not giving attention to those solid minerals,
it's politically motivated.
Whereas some individuals who are from that axis are profiting from those solid minerals. But the one that has to do with crude, that one is Nigerian product. But the solid mineral is ethnic products. So that's why I said that it's politically masterminded, you know. So there is no law that makes the solid mineral a federal government product.
Is that the case, Okechukwu?
I agree with him, hook, line, and sinker. You see, the oil is a Nigerian product, but the solid mineral is purely a northern affair. Secondly, the government, they have not really done much in terms of exploring the the solid mineral. The government attention is on the crude, which I don't know if they believe that one day we will run out of crude, then they go back and face their solid mineral, which will now become theirs, but the oil is ours, which is all-encompassing. That's why even in the Niger Delta Development Commission, which is purely oil, you still find representative from the Northeast. I wonder what is a Northeast person, a Northerner, doing in the board of NDDC.
He's in Nigeria.
That's why the oil is a Nigerian owned, but the solid mineral is theirs. So they've not really done much in terms of exploration because they have a hidden agenda. I can tell you for free. They have a hidden agenda when it comes to that solid mineral. But for me too, the earlier government hands off certain area of business, the better or the best for them. All they need to do is to provide an enabling atmosphere, enabling environment for business to thrive. They don't have any need going into certain areas of business.
What areas of business are you making reference to now?
Exploration of solid mineral, petroleum.
That's not supposed to be the business of the government?
Provide enabling environment, security,
for individuals,
infrastructure, and let private individual do this business, run a proper business model that is profit-oriented and remit to government.
Is that a school of thought that you also agree to?
You see, the truth is that there are big-time billionaires as a result of exploration of the solid minerals in this country. They are making quiet money. When I mean quiet money, quiet money. Most of them, their companies have no address. All you need to do is to partner with the host community. Settle them. They don't know what you are exploring. In as much as you have not claimed ownership of that land. When they want to have their event occasion, you give them the cow, you give them enough drinks, give them some millions of naira. Oh, it's our good tenant. We pray that what you have been looking for in the bush, one day God should help you get it. Not knowing that
the people are not aware currently, or you're talking about something that used to happen in the past.
I'm saying what...
There's more than awareness now.
No, you see, even with the level of awareness, people don't believe that something good is in the bush because of the understanding of civilization. Civilization is in the city. But not knowing that there is money in the bush. Plenty money inside the bush. So that's part of the deception. The man who is a professor in a family
hears that there is one man who wants to come and do exploration in the bush, is he going to scatter the land? No, he's just going to, so we'll just test, carry our machine and check and all of that. It's okay. Once we discover something good, all of us will benefit now. It's okay, that's good, that's good.
And in that way, it's not like the government is benefiting from it.
Government is not benefiting now. That's what I'm saying, that it has been made, solid mineral is an ethnic product. Remember my analysis, my assertion. Why the oil, the crude, is Nigerian product. So for you to access the solid mineral, is the host community that you need. It's not federal government. So all you need to do is have a registered company and then see how you
is
can.
That how it actually is,
and
or
then,
that's just something.
No, this is a political business. When you have the minister for solid minerals, if he comes on board, make him your friend. At least once in a while, take care of him. Because it's not an area that government is intentionally trying to derive revenue. But in any case, I want to encourage that this is one area that government can also leverage on and have so much resources, revenue, job creation, if we can harness them. From different years, you have ministers for solid minerals. But the big question is, what is the output of that ministry? If they tell you the level of staff they have in the Ministry of Solid Minerals that are collecting salary, only God knows.
And to add again, not just number of staff in the ministry. Do you know that there are so many departments and agencies?
Fund allocated.
There are so many departments and agencies that are still part of the solid mineral ministries. So much, if you go to Abuja, some of them, they do not even have signage, no signboard, but it's a government agency, one of the agencies under Ministry of Solid Mineral. So for me, government should hands off, let genuine businessmen with clear intention come in. They go into proper MOU. And they start business. Before you know, government will leverage and harness, and no longer a few individuals benefiting from the racketeering. Right. Because at the moment, what's going on now is racketeering and not business.
Okay. 15 million litre aviation fuel depot, Nigeria's largest airside jet fuel storage facility, is set to open near Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos on October 17, 2024. The joint user hydrant installation 2 depot will serve as a crucial hub for jet fuel supply to the airport and surrounding areas. The project, led by a consortium including Atn PLC and Masters Energy, spans 46,000 square meters and is equipped with advanced technology to enhance fuel supply operations. The commissioning will be officiated by Ministers Festus Keyamo and Heineken Lopobiri, signaling a major boost to Nigeria's aviation sector. This is another sector that, although we don't get to talk about it all the time, but what is your take on this story?
It's a good one. It's a good development. But for me, I think that thing would have been decentralized. You don't just have it only in Lagos. It should have been in other airports around the nation. If you have that kind of facility only in Lagos, that means aircrafts will travel from wherever they are, go to that facility to get their jet fuel before they move. So they need to decentralize things like this. But I think it's the right step in the right direction. But the next thing is to see how they can also have it in different areas.
Ambassador?
Yes, it's a good thing. Like my brother have opined. Let each of the, if not the zones or the different locations of the airports, there's nothing wrong to have these things. We have like a Master Energy. They have tank farms where they store, they have this fuel product and all of that. The capacities are there, but it's just sometimes the bureaucracies in setting up these farms.
Right.
So I think government should leverage and open up, investment opportunities for investors to because the issue sometimes said there is no fuel for the aviation. The aircraft cannot fly because of what do you call it? Aviation fuel. You know, so I think they are not good. The aviation industry is very big. It's very large. You know, there are some countries that funds their budget on tourism.
Right.
That includes money generated from the aviation industry, and the aviation industry is one industry that can be very much lucrative because it can serve as a hub even for investors, you know, to coming from other countries and then explore your country. So if your aviation industry is strong, that they know that they will not be stranded at the airport because of one reason or the other, why wouldn't they come? So I think it's a good thing.
We have reports that the federal government has introduced a new fuel purchasing regime, allowing petroleum marketers to buy premium motor spirits directly from local refineries, including Dangote Refinery. This shift ends the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited's role as the sole buyer and distributor of petrol from refineries. Finance Minister Wale Edun highlighted that this direct purchase model will enhance competition and improve supply efficiency in the market. Previously, NNPCL bought petrol at 898.78 naira per litre and sold it to marketers at Now, we're talking about marketers negotiating prices directly with refineries, and it's a move that is aimed at stabilizing market conditions. And this change aligns with the government's ongoing efforts to deregulate the sector. It has been a back and forth. Today we might hear this, tomorrow we might hear something else, and next tomorrow we might hear again that only NNPCL can buy from Dangote. Then we hear reports that the marketers have finally been allowed, and then we hear reports again that it's just NNPCL. It has been a back and forth. So I don't know if there are Nigerians who might believe some of these stories sometimes when it comes out, but we already know that the next day we might also get to hear something else. But what is your thought on all of these back and forth with the Dangote Refinery and it being open to marketers to purchase and not just the NNPCL?
There's a popular saying that you cannot appropriate and reprobate in one breath. You cannot blow hot and cold one same time. If you do that, you choke. So it's simple. It's not rocket science. It's not magic. Government, they are just running around in circles. They are not being sincere. And I pray that this doesn't end up to be like another hand of Jacob and voice of Esau. When I say hand of Jacob, voice of Esau, is that they are saying one thing and doing another thing behind. But if they are very sincere with their approach, that they are taking their hands off completely, it's a right step in the right direction, because basically marketers will now negotiate with Dangote directly. And if they negotiate with Dangote directly, you discover that middlemen in every business, they tend to increase or cause price hike in a business. If I come to you as an agent to look for a buyer for me, you definitely add your markup. And by the time you go to Ekie, who is the buyer, you are not telling him what I am selling to you. You're adding your markup, and it increases. So once the middleman is off completely and genuinely, it becomes between the buyer and the seller. Business, there will be ease of business. The supply chain will improve, and there will be competition. Because as he is coming to me, another buyer is coming. Before you know, the price, there will be that stability in terms of pricing. That's on the other side. The NNPC again, what is the arrangement of giving Dangote crude? Are they selling crude to Dangote in Naira, or are they selling to him in dollar? Because these are some of the things we need to ask.
We've already been told that it's now in Naira.
It's now in Naira. No problem. I think we are now in the right direction, where it's now a producer and buyer kind of business, and no more the NNPC who is the price giver and the price taker, just the price giver, while the hitman, they are the price taker. So now it's now a relationship between the refiner and the marketer. Then another thing they need to do is that to break this monopoly and hegemony, they also need to give other people licenses, since they cannot fix NMP, they cannot fix the Port Harcourt refineries for us. In as much as I've given Dangote a license, they should also give another.
Are they holding license from other individuals?
No, I think to come in there are other private refineries that are springing up. There are people who are building refineries now. Very soon it will also be...
well, I think, there's one that was commissioned by Buhari, somewhere around Imo State. Have they started production?
That's what I do not know.
They actually have. We would have heard in
I don't think so. I think most times there are so many things that happen in this country that is not very clear to us. I have always said, we heard that federal government have announced new price of fuel, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a new price regime.
So now, if federal government announces the price of fuel,
it depends on the new price you're talking about, because there have been new prices and new prices.
Exactly.
Unless you're talking about something that was announced today, maybe during the show.
No, maybe yesterday or thereabout, a few days ago. Now, the point is, if federal government is still going to fix price on how much fuel should be sold, does it make any sense even if these independent buyers go to buy from Dangote?
Never.
It makes no sense.
But federal government have told us that it is not in their place to fix prices.
No. You see, let's be sincere for once.
Who should be sincere now?
We're talking about federal government and both those who are in that industry. The independent marketers have never sold fuel same price with the NNPCL. Their price has always been higher. Now, if you watch the story there, NNPC said we bought 800 and something naira from Dangote, and then we sold 700 and something naira to independent marketers. Before this challenge came to this point, NNPCL have always said we use the amount we buy from the international market. We have always reduced the price for independent marketers so that they can also sell and make profits to the detriment of the federal government. So now Dangote is to sell directly to independent marketers. For me, Dangote business is a business that the product is available, but most times is not affordable, because Dangote products are always on the increment.
But that's not peculiar. That's not peculiar to his.
You know why it's like that?
No. We have other products in Nigeria that's experiencing the same
thing. They tend to create a monopoly in any kind of business they venture into, where they try to even stifle competitors and.
Good. You know, so that's the honesty about
according
it.
to claims.
No, it's the reality. So because any business that senior brother Dangote is in charge, it's difficult for other people to compete.
Yes.
And once he's the only one producing that product, the possibility of whatever price he fixes must be acceptable.
So what are you saying this will lead to now?
It's same Anyim will give back to Anyim now. What I'm trying to, what I'm saying is that what has been happening to the other product will still happen to this product, unless tomorrow night he wants to change his business style on petroleum. So we have advocated here that federal government should give Dangote crude rather, on a discounted, reduced price. That has been my word, and with naira, and then agree with Dangote how much is going to give Nigeria that product on a reduced price, because we are giving you the crude oil on a reduced price. Is that correct? Because if we sell our crude to the international market, it's on dollar, and we'll make more money. Remember the cry here that because we want to make more money at the international market, Dangote is not having the product. Now he's having the product. To let it be that, yes, they have agreed it's going to be on naira to boost our currency, but there is one thing that is needful.
intentional agreement of reduction of the crude to Dangote's refinery, and intentional agreement of selling the crude back to NNPCL or to the independent marketers on a reduced amount.
So you don't have a problem.
Can I also come in?
Let him come before I continue.
Even if Dangote buys the crude at OPEC price, Dangote will still make profit. You know why I say Dangote will still make profit? One, for every refining process, there are byproducts.
Yeah.
So he's not just buying the fuel, buying the crude to produce fuel for us alone. He's into diesel, he's into kerosene, he's into aviation, he's into gas, even byproducts like the black oil. There are so many things which they can use to produce other things. So by the time he sells those things, he's breaking even. So let's not just look at it that he's just selling only fuel to us. Even if they are selling to him at OPEC price, by the time they sell all these other products that comes out of it, he will make more money. So it's not that he's buying crude oil at the international price, then it's only fuel that is coming out from there. It's not.
Exactly. To even add, it will shock you that the price of fuel here that will be sold to Nigerians, he will not sell that amount to Niger. He will not sell that same amount to Cameroon. To...
What will be the variation?
It will be lower now.
That's for us, it will be lower.
Here it will be higher.
Why do you think so?
He will sell at a cheaper price here, because if it goes outside the border, he's making more money. Why is he saying so? For now, they shouldn't even allow him the idea of selling to West African countries. Dangote product should be for Nigeria and Nigerians.
But that's not why he built the refinery.
The contract, the terms of setting up the refinery was for West Africa. Now, we are always saying, in a mutual understanding, that if we are giving you, for instance, we are going to give you 3 million barrels of...
We got that point. Now, the question I wanted to ask you earlier is, do you see, what difference do you see when the independent marketers are the ones buying directly from Dangote now, other than it's going through the NNPCL?
What we will see is inflation now.
Inflation?
Of course.
How is it going to bring about inflation?
At that point, whatever they negotiate with Dangote is whatever the amount they want to add is what they will add. But that period that NNPC...
But there will be competition.
No.
And when there's competition in the market...
No, let me come.
Okay.
Where is the competition? Do you have 3 refineries or 4?
No, we're talking about the independent marketers.
There has been no competition in the issue of what do you call it? Fuel.
It's monopoly.
It's monopoly because number one, like I always say, there is no scarcity of fuel in River State. The only thing we have is scarcity of money. People don't have money to buy fuel. Because I don't see anybody who say, I wanted to buy fuel. I didn't see filling station. Is there? It's like, it's not there. No. So we have the product. So there's even no competition. So what we are only asking and advocating is that government should help so that this product could be easily accessible to Nigerians.
Let's move on to the minimum wage now. The president of Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, that's Joe Ajero, he has explained that the NLC accepted 70,000 naira minimum wage offer during discussions with President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa. Ajero revealed that the Labour Union turned down the proposed increase in petroleum prices during the negotiations and instead agreed to the 70,000 naira wage increment. Now, Ajero also mentioned that the organized labor had negotiated with experts to have vehicles converted to run on compressed natural gas for 300,000 naira, but the government later announced a much higher conversion cost at 800,000 naira. Initially, Labour had demanded 250,000 naira as new minimum wage, but settled for 70,000 naira after further talks with the president. Now, he added that the Labour representatives did not have a mandate to discuss petroleum price increase and were only focused on minimum wage negotiations, which led to the final agreement on 70,000 naira. Now, he was explaining what went on with the talks that people had about the Labour assenting to the increase in fuel price. Now, he was explaining that that's not exactly what happened. When they were asked, according to him, he said the president asked them during their meeting, the president asked him and said, so if you want us to pay you 250,000 naira as minimum wage, are you going to be okay with us increasing the fuel price? And then they said they'll go and take a week and come back. And after a week, they came back and told the president that our focus is on the increase of the minimum wage and not increase of fuel price. For now, this is the conversation. And at the end of the day, they ended up agreeing with 70,000 naira. And after that, we had a hike in fuel price. Now, that already explains a lot of things. If his comment about the statement of the president, the question that the president asked them, if there's any truth in that, the hike that followed the increase in the minimum wage explains a lot. Okay, Chuka, I'd like to bring you in on this story first off.
For me, I think Labour died after the exit of Oshiomhole as NLC president. Even Pascal Bafio was very active as an NLC president. Ali Uwaba, would also tried, but I don't know the type of trade union that we have now. These are people who are supposed to constitute, I won't call them opposition, but to put government on the edges and put them on their toes to know that they represent the interests of the Nigerian masses. But what we have find today is a weakened trade union Congress and Labour, who for me, I think they are appendages of government, even tied to their apron strings. So it's quite unfortunate. They should bury their head in shame that they cannot even protect the interests of the Nigerian workers. And I don't know where they are leading the Nigerian workers and the masses to. You can't tell us that right under your nose, you were in the peak of a negotiation table. You have not even agreed. The next thing was a hike in a price of petroleum products. And it's been increasing. And the another question I ask, where are those people who occupied Nigeria when Jonathan increased prices of fuel from 65 naira to 110 naira? Are they not living in this country? Are they dead? Are they not seeing what is happening in Nigeria today? And they all kept quiet.
They have occupied Nigeria again. Have we not had protests?
No, that's what, it's not even a protest, because for you to have that kind of protest, your demand should be specific. You don't bring up one form of ambiguous demand and say you're doing a protest. Every protest around the world is supposed to be specific. You're supposed to have things you're protesting. Check those people, their demands. They were just too big, humongous, and very ambiguous. So how do you even attend to them? So for me, the Labour, they have failed us. I don't know at the point where they failed or they allowed themselves to be used by government. I don't even know. So for me, I no longer take anything that comes from the Labour and the trade union serious.
All right, Ambassador.
Well, the Labour president said in their meeting with Mr. President, the president talked about the fuel price. And they went back and said their focus is on minimum wage. That's to tell the Nigerian public that Labour is not for the Nigerian masses, but they are for government workers. Because the price of fuel is something that will affect the entire...
Including the government workers.
In the entire country. But Labour president and their executives came back and said, our focus is not the price. If you want to increase the price,
they
go ahead.
Didn't make that statement.
No, I'm only saying. I'm only just saying. Yeah. I didn't say they said so. So if you don't want to increase, that's your own. But our focus in this meeting is on minimum wage. And of course, the president okayed 70,000 for them, which means from is it 15,000 to 30,000?
38,000.
Now from 18 to 30.
Now to 70, which is fair for them, though the economy has adversely changed. But again, we also watch Mr. President they releasing about 64 CMG converted buses to Labour. Is that correct?
which was part of the discussion of that meeting that day, an issue of conversion. But he's telling us the price that they talked about. But he would have also go ahead to tell Nigerians that we have also received so number of buses. You see,
Nigerians are aware.
It's not about
telling us the things we're not
it's
aware
not
of.
about Nigerians being aware. When you condemn somebody, also say the side the person have been fair to you, is it not? We watched it now. Nigerian Labour Congress, NANS, 64 CMG buses. Is that not correct? NANS wanted to go on a protest for fuel price. And then now government have called them, calm down, we'll give you some of the buses. They have also given to Labour. So what is Labour president telling us? So I want to encourage Labour and thank Mr. President for what you have done to Nigerian Labour Congress for increasing their minimum wage from 30,000 to how much? 70,000. Mr. President, thank you. And I've also seen you provided CMG buses for Nigerian Labour Congress and TUC. I want to say thank you. So having done this for Nigerian Labour Congress and TUC, I want to plead with Labour to now begin to support and encourage the government of...
For me, you see what happened to Labour and the president is like a case of the devil that gives cap and takes a head. That's the devil will give cap, but collects the head. So of what use is a cap without head?
And if you look at if you listen to what he said about that conversation, when he said that that was on the 250,000 naira, and according to the president said, if we pay you 250,000 naira, would you allow us increase fuel price? Now, what did they conclude on? Did they conclude on 250,000? Did they not conclude on 70,000 naira?
He came back and said, we don't want to discuss about fuel price. Is it not? Give us minimum increase. Isn't it? And the president said, okay, from 30,000, I give you 70,000. I will also give you CMG converted buses. Has Mr. President not done well?
So what did Mr. President collect from them?
Nothing. So what
the president say?
No.
The president has collected that 70,000.
No. You see the point I'm trying to say.
Wait, hold on. Sorry. Let me bring something in here. Remember a statement I made in the previous story where the FG has told us that it is not in their place to fix price of fuel. They even said that the NNPCL is a private entity, and so they should not be held responsible in extension to the actions of the NNPCL. So if the federal government had said that it's not in their place to fix prices, the market forces will determine that. Then what is going on with this statement about the president saying, will you let us increase price?
No, you see, if I own, who owns NNPCL? It's the federal government.
But the federal government has dissociated itself from it.
No, you see, those are political statements. My own is...
Okay, it's political statements, so it's excused.
Labour has the opportunity of discussing fuel price. Is that correct? With the meeting with Mr. President. But the Labour president said
we have heard that
he does not want to discuss.
We have heard that we have hit on that one so much. This is a point that I just raised now, and I want us to have that conversation.
The point.
I made one comment when I started. I said the Labour or the organized Labour is weakened, and also an appendage of the government tied to their aprons.
But what do you have to say about we're not the ones to fix price, and then will you let us increase the price?
I say you can't blow hot and cold with this in the same breath. You choke to death. That's what the federal government they are doing. They are appropriating and reprobating, and it's not good. They are holding on to the corporate existence of Nigerians. You have refineries which they are holding on to. If those refineries cannot work, if the equipments are obsolete, they should sell them at zero kobo to willing investors to come and put them to work.
Let me even say, when we talk about refinery. Now we have had one work. What is the price of fuel?
Which one?
The Dangote own.
They are not Dangote own. It's even
private.
the ones they are holding. The federal government, they have 4 refineries.
I agree. 2
in Port Harcourt, 1 in Kaduna, and 1 in
agree.
What is happening to them?
Even if it is 10, what is the guarantee that if our refineries are now working, that the price will be low? So it
will be low.
You see,
see, from the economic point of view,
yes,
or what happened within the telecommunication industry, is a clear pointer that once government takes their hand off certain aspect of business, those businesses will work. Initially, when we had NITEL under the purview of government, in a particular street you will enter, you can barely count the number of people who owns telephone. But today, what happens? Our tele density has increased because government took their hands off, and willing investors came, put in their money. When they first came, the price of lines and phones were very high, but today it has crashed. You can get a line for as little as 0 kobo. All they just need to do is they have this your KYC where they say know your customers.
All right.
Well,
we have to wrap up now. Yes,
we're rounding up. Oh, my parting word is number 1, let peace continue to reign in Rivers State. Number 2, let the price of PMS be affordable for Nigerians. Right. And lastly, Nigerians need money to buy PMS. The problem is not even the PMS now, is the challenge is there is no money in the pocket of Nigerians to buy
your
PMS.
Words in
let Nigerians breathe. Don't suffocate them.
Oh, thank you so much for your thoughts. I appreciate you, Okechukwu Edenko, for joining us, and Ambassador EKCAK for joining us. Big thanks to you for being part of this conversation. Remember, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Stay connected with us on all of our socials: Facebook, YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram, TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, X, Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website at www.atlanticnetwork.tv. My name is Enidoye Jackson. Please stay right here with us on ATN. As coming up next is Open Air.